Minister, people before profit have been against the carbon tax from the very outset, despite what some people seem to be suggesting earlier on today, rather bizarrely. We've been very clear in opposing carbon tax as an unfair, regressive tax that doesn't, we think, where there is no evidence that it has any significant impact on the reduction of CO2 emissions. But if that was true always, it seems to me it is just simply blatantly self-evident that increasing the carbon tax yet again in the current situation is going to contribute to fuel poverty, hardship and injustice.
Please.
This has been the subject of the private members here this evening and indeed another one tomorrow. But just to repeat the key points that I said earlier on, Deputy, I do believe that carbon taxing is and will play an important role in how we can reduce carbon emissions in the future. The challenge that we face with regard to our climate is existential, and what we are doing, cognizant of the challenges that many are already facing with the rising price of energy, is putting in place additional supports to help those who will be affected by the further increasing in carbon taxation that will take place in a number of weeks' time. I would say, though, Deputy, that if you look at the impact that carbon taxing is having on the rising price of energy, it is but a small share of the total cost of fuel and energy in our economy at the moment. And the increase that is coming up is 2 cents per litre. Now, I know 2 cents per litre, when you all add it up, can be a lot for those who have the least. But this is the reason why we have brought in and made changes in our social welfare system, in the fuel payment and in the living alone allowance to help those who will be affected, and I know badly affected, by the rising price of energy at the moment.
Deputy and then Deputy Wilson.
Minister, to be clear, we believe what's needed are caps on energy prices and heating prices, okay? That's what we think is the necessary action. But we think, while you are not clearly going to do that, although you should, it is unacceptable to add additional hardship to people by further increasing carbon taxes. On its own, you're absolutely right. It's not enough. But you have control of VAT, of PSO and of carbon tax. That's more than 1.2 billion worth of taxes that will be levied on people's energy use, most of that hitting the least well off. Now, what we're saying is, do you honestly think you should not reduce that, and that you should certainly not even contemplate increasing it when we have winter excess debts, when we have people not able to pay the bills, when they are literally making choices between food and bills, skipping meals and so on? Do you not think it is totally unjust?
And I also need to listen to the Climate Change Advisory Council, who, as I reminded Sinn Féin in our debate earlier on, have advised us that carbon tax is a key component of transition to a low-carbon, climate-resilient and environmental sustainable economy. That's their view in relation to this. And of course I accept that the change that is happening, and I was at pains to acknowledge earlier on, that even the change that is coming up in May, while in the total cost of energy overall, is 2 cents per litre, that for many that is a loss. I acknowledge that. But this is the reason why the government has brought forward the energy rebate. It's the reason why we've brought forward the additional fuel payment of €125. And it's also the reason why we've made many other changes in our social welfare code to protect those who need help the most. Finally, on a number of occasions I've heard many deputies make reference to where we are with our tax receipts. We did have a strong November and December and January, but much of that is fuelled by a high level of savings going into consumption within our economy. That will come to an end. That will come to an end. And we can't, on one hand, be making the case for people's standard of living going down and being able to purchase less, and at this other hand, imply that the higher level of VAT that we've seen will continue.
Thank you. Deputy Boyd Barrett.
But the higher level of VAT, specifically on energy and heating, okay, forget about the rest, is up to 481 million, right, and rising. So the state has got a big tax bonus from the energy hikes that ordinary people are getting through the doors, which they can't afford, right? That gives you scope not to impose further hardship on them. In fact, it gives you scope to reduce their energy bills and reduce the hardship. So do the profits of ESB, and you're right, it's a publicly owned company. Cap their profits. Tell them not to put up the prices. Because we'd rather not impose further hardship on people in order to get extra dividends. Or, for that matter, the profits of Energia up. No, cap their profits. Say you don't need to make extra profits this year because there's people suffering out there.
Thank you, Deputy.
And they can't take any more.
But the reason why we brought in the lump sum payment of €125 for those in receipt of the fuel allowance is to ensure that as part of our package, we have funding and a payment available to those who need help the most. So what we had here is a package which in its breadth and indeed in its cost of €500 million was looking to respond back to the challenges which we accept that many are facing now due to the rising cost of living. And I mean, you know, Deputy Boyd Barrett, you quoted a figure in relation to the higher rate of VAT, or the figure in relation to VAT. You know, we have a package that overall cost in excess of €500 million. We have a package that, between it and on budget day and the announcements that were contained there, means that if you're a single person in receipt of the old age pension, you will receive additional support from the state of between €600 and €800 per year for this year. I mean, that will help. We accept that for many they want more and need more, but it is a set of measures that we believe will make a difference to those who need the help the most.
Thank you very much. Now,